Okay, so now we're going to talk about cathode ray tube monitors, CRT. These are obviously old. Anybody that has these gets rid of them. Unless they have a grandma or grandpa taking this class, it's probably not something you would use. Maybe some people overseas might see these, but definitely not in the States. They're power hungry. They can cause problems with your brain. A specific type of tumor has been linked to these. So if you are using these, one word of caution is don't turn them on or off with your face next to them. I had a friend of mine, that's how I found out about this. He got a special type of cancer in his brain, and it developed into a, well, not cancer, but a tumor. And basically starts at the base of your brain, in the base of your spine or your brain, and then works its way up into a tornado shape, and it just turns your brain to jelly. And they've linked it to turning on the CRT. So what he had was he had displays on his desk, and then a TV up top that he used, which was a CRT that they used to turn on and off all the time. And that initial caused the problems. So it emits a huge amount of radiation. So you need to be far away from these things when you turn them on if you're still using them. LEDs are much cheaper, much better, and much more power efficient, create less heat if you're in a little room, and that kind of thing. So they're a lot better. And the way these work is they have a powerful beam in the back of them, and it just scans really fast through a director. It just keeps going. So every time you see the page generate, that's why it loads top to bottom. That beam sprays it out across the tube, and the way it hits the tube, it excites it, and it stays lit long enough for it to come back and hit it again. So it just keeps going back and forth, back and forth. And that's how these things work. And like I said, they emit a huge EMP pulse, not enough to knock out power like a nuclear bomb going off, but they do emit a lot of energy when you turn them on and off. So again, we have the start, the horizontal scan, the horizontal retrace, and the vertical retrace. So they just keep going back and forth across the screen. This is basically how they work, and it's called CRT sweeping cathode ray tube is what CRT stands for. Also, people try to crack these open and grab parts out of them, capacitors and things like that. Keep in mind that these store enough energy to stop your heart, the capacitors in these. So don't mess around with them if you see them out in a junkyard or something. Internal CRT operation. So we have a red, green, and a blue gun. And then they direct and vertical, the horizontal and vertical direction coils. So it's driven by a magnetic reflector. So the magnetic yoke and the coils work together to steer the beams across the screen, right? So you have three of them. They may block the beam, they may deflect it up or wherever it's going to go. But whenever they first power all this up, all that electromagnetic radiation leaves the front of the monitor. And like I said, it causes problems if you're within 3 feet of it. So big thing to be concerned about. So you can kind of see why they were long, because you have the guns in the back, and it comes out to the monitor in the front, right? So that's why they're so long the way they are. And then the only colors they had were red, green, and blue. So then we get into screen resolution and pitch. We have pixels, and then a triad of pixels. A triad is just 3 of them. And then we have the pitch. So the pitch is the alignment that you see over here in the little diagram. So we have the pixel, the triad, and the pitch. You need to know this for the test. I don't always see these questions on this particular test. They'll pop up randomly, which is kind of odd. I'll forget about them, and then all of a sudden they start showing up. So it's weird how they do it. You may not see any questions on it, but if I were you, I would know these. And then additional monitor considerations. The larger the CRT, the more expensive the monitor is, and the more it weighs. Some of these things were 112 pounds. So higher bandwidth equals greater maximum vertical refresh rate. So the refresh rates were important in these. And then interlacing, the painting alternate rows saves money but causes eye strain. So instead of painting every row, it would skip a row, and then it would come back and hit that row. And your eyes it would strain your eyes to do that. You could literally feel the pain on an interlaced monitor. So power saving features, display power management signaling modes reduce power use when the monitor is on or idle. DPMS places the monitor in an inactive status if the system is inactive for a specified time. So it's still on, but the guns are no longer firing. The inactive states are on, standby, suspend, and off. Tuning the monitor's display. So most of the time you only had to degauss them. So if the front of the monitor got magnetically charged, again, they use the magnetic properties that impact the beam steering to, so the beams were steered, the guns in the back don't move. The beams are steered with the magnetic engine inside of the monitor. So if you electrically charge or magnetically charge the front of the display, so the very front of it, where the part that your eyes would see, if you magnetically charge it, like if this was a 50-pound magnet and I rubbed it next to the monitor, it would electrically or magnetically charge the front of that display, and then the colors wouldn't look right. So when the beam would hit it, you'd still be able to make out what it was, but it would look funny and the colors were way off, and again, it would literally give you a headache. So the way you did that is with the bottom left one here is degaussing. So you would kind of realign all the magnetic properties and keep it clean. So the degaussing is how you did that. So with respect to tuning, the properties that you had to worry about were vertical height, horizontal width, the pin cushion, so the vertical centering. So the display is fixed, and then the vertical centering is where you align it in here. So it could go off the screen or it could stay within the screen. And then the horizontal centering is the same thing. How you go left to right. It could go off the screen or stay inside. And then the keystone, how it looks like this. So you're literally just laying it back. And those were the basic properties that you could set. And then you could press a button and have it degauss the monitor. Again, a huge EMP pulse, electromagnetic pulse. Pulse of energy is released when you degauss it if you didn't use the magnet. So they had an electrical degausser on there. Again, the degausser was to realign the coloring on the front, the actual front of the display, the part that you would look at.